Sheila Gunn Reid for the Rebel.media. It's day 2 of the Defend Media Freedom Conference here in London. The conference is co-hosted by the Canadian government and the UK government, and no one is more shocked than me that I'm in here. Now, it's about 8:45 in the morning. I've discovered that nobody does any work before roughly 10 a.m. in the mainstream media or in government, so that's a bit of a culture shock for me. It's going to be another day of listening to people talk about the best way to regulate journalism and regulate the internet instead of finding ways to avoid those things at all costs. It's very, very strange and Orwellian. They're describing regulation as freedom here. I'm here for a half day by myself. I'm alone in the belly of the beast because Ezra is over at the Old Bailey Courthouse this morning because it's the sentencing for Tommy Robinson. And Tommy Robinson really should be the elephant in the room at this conference, but he's not. He's just not even on the radar of anybody here outside of myself and Ezra and our friend Andrew Lawton from the True North Center, who's also here. Nobody really seems concerned at this Media Freedom Conference that across town, a citizen journalist is likely to be imprisoned for the crime of doing journalism outside of a courthouse at the trial of a grooming gang. It's very strange, and actually it's more than just that they're ignoring that that's happening across town. Ezra keeps writing "Free Tommy" graffiti on the graffiti wall here, and it keeps getting either covered up or altered to obscure the fact that the graffiti is about Tommy Robinson. So it's worse than nobody talking about him. They're basically unpersoning him as an issue and as a journalist here. Very, very strange. Everybody else is more concerned with Donald Trump calling CNN fake news and hurting Jim Acosta's feelings than they are about real attacks on journalism happening in the very city the conference is being held in. Now, I did mention earlier we do have one friend here, Andrew Lawton from the True North Center, and we learned something very, very interesting from Andrew yesterday. Andrew, like us, is accredited as media. That's why we have these yellow lanyards. It says we're accredited as media. We're not just delegates from a government or from a NGO or a journalistic organization. We're actually media reporting on the things that are happening here. Now, unlike us, Andrew's actually on the email list for Minister Freeland's appearances and her media availability for this conference. That means that Freeland's people have intentionally left us off the list because we should be on the list. We're accredited as media. So her media availability emails are going out to all the media except us. They've weeded us off that list. Now, the people on that list are given consideration to ask Freeland questions. The questions, of course, are pre-screened and pre-approved, and we probably wouldn't agree to that anyway. But it means that they're blocking our journalistic access to Freeland at a conference that's about media freedom that is co-hosted by Freeland. It's so hypocritical, but so perfectly liberal. Now, Freeland's support of the free press, as we know, is fake, like everything else here. This is like a Potemkin village for the free press and for fraudulent free speech activists. So far, everything I've seen here is to placate journalists with promises of cash and subsidies and bailouts, and to try to deceive the public into thinking that the state of free speech in the Western world is much better than it really is, and much more supported by governments than it really is. This conference, at least for me, from the Canadian side, so far has been to whitewash the Liberals' crackdown on social media companies in advance of their upcoming election campaign. So a direct crackdown on free speech of journalists like me and citizens. It's to whitewash the Liberals' anti-free speech, anti-blasphemy motion M103, and the Liberals' anti-media freedom role in getting journalists like me and my colleagues at the Rebel banned from reporting at UN events. I mean, it's very it's ridiculous. This whole thing is a joke. It's a propaganda exercise. And you know what else? The allegedly critical thinking journalists all around me are falling for this fake news, because this whole conference is the fake news that they so resent. Well, I have to run off. Like I said, our first session starts at, just before 10 a.m. Freeland, the Foreign Minister, Jeremy Hunt, and Amal Clooney are going to talk to us about the importance of media freedom. Reporting from the Defend Media Freedom Conference for the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. I'm one of probably a very small handful of critically thinking journalists and free speech activists here at the Defend Media Freedom Conference in London, England. To see all of our coverage, go to mediafreedomconference.com. And if you're so inclined, you can help cover the cost to send us here to tell you the other side of the story that this building full of journalists never would. You can do that too at mediafreedomconference.com.